Those who tether themselves to the Iranian regime should expect to share in the isolation of a withering regime. The United States expects action. Every country has a defined timeline to shut down activities we have identified. If they do not take action, we will do so unilaterally through Treasury authorities.
Oil prices pulling back today as the White House cranks up the pressure on Iran with Operation Economic Outcast. Welcome back to the second hour of the Big Money Show. I'm Taylor Riggs, along with my spectacular co-hosts. And with us for the hour, Kennedy Saves the World podcast host. Kennedy. Quite the stare. Love it. I'm smoldering. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warning the world to sever all financial ties with Iran or face the full reach of American power. All eyes are on China. Beijing buys most of Iran's oil and has an elaborate system to avoid U.S. sanctions. But Bessent says Chinese firms will now be held accountable. Tehran's economy is already under strain, a plunging currency, slumping exports, and persistently high inflation. So if another blow lands, how much more pressure can this regime take? Kennedy, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much,
Taylor. What do you make of Operation Economic Outcast?
I'm usually not a huge fan of sanctions because they don't work, and Iran is going to show us, and they're buddies with North Korea. North Korea has withstood sanctions for about 6,000 years. I do subscribe to the idea that Iran will throw a massive military tantrum before they capitulate in any way. It's like this whole thing has gone on longer than the president and anyone in the administration has wanted, but I do prefer this to military action. I would rather see the rest of the Middle East and any Iranian trading partners, whether it's China or whoever is left in Western Europe, I would rather them be put on notice because that's what you want to offer. You want to offer access to the American marketplace. Mm-hmm. We have consumers. We drive the global economy. If you want to party with our consumers, then you got to get your hand stamped. I think you and I know what that means, Taylor.
Yes, 4 a.m. clubbing, hand stamped. Dagan, weigh in here, because I think yesterday, to Kennedy's point, there was just some discussion, and I think I brought this up about what happened when we sanctioned Russia in 2022. I think there was $300 billion in assets, and they said, okay, fine, we'll get off the SWIFT system, and we'll just start trading in yuan. And so the pressure and the leverage point quickly cannot be as effective as we thought if it drives nations further away. But the critics to that argument say, you know what, this is still the U.S. dollar, the world's reserve currency, the largest consumer. And if you want access to us, then you have to play. How are you thinking about sort of that push-pull of the effectiveness of sanctions?
The most important thing is what the U.S. is doing that it's never done before since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, and that is stopping the flow of oil. Mm-hmm. That we have never done that. And so China, certainly by sea, can't buy Iranian oil if none is coming through the Strait of Hormuz. Is some making its way to China via rail? Potentially. But that's the choke point, and we need to squeeze and squeeze. Inflation is the highest in Iran since, as long as it's been tracked, I think 70 years. The currency, also the economy is in collapse. That's the most important thing. But it's worth noting that China today defended its cooperation with Iran in response to what Secretary Bessent said yesterday. The foreign minister spokesman Lin Jian warned of potential retaliation in Beijing's first official reaction to these new measures. Okay, bring it on. I dare you. I think that should be the U.S. position. Okay, you're going to choose Iran over us. Put their feet to the fire.
We've got a hell of a revenge bod.
Yes.
With a stamp on our hand.
They need us.
That's right.
just as a trading relationship, we are still, even though that we have shifted. I mentioned iPhones last hour. 75% of the iPhones are now assembled in India rather than China. There's a quarter of them are still assembled in China. We have a trading relationship with the communist nation that's a great deal more important economically than Iran. But take your pick, Xi.
Brian, you said something yesterday that I've been thinking about. When you cut off oil, then you're effectively cutting off revenue. And if you can't have revenue to pay your soldiers, at what point, to the reference to East Berlin, do they stop shooting their own people?
Yeah.
Obviously, religious zealots have more authority or excitement about shooting their own people than just money. But sort of taking that aside, does this sort of help pull at least the military aspect also on board by cutting off the payments?
You really got to be a zealot if you're not getting paid.
Right.
And I just wonder how many of these Iranian soldiers, not the top guys, they have a lot of money apparently, but the low guys, if they're not getting paid, how zealous are they? I think it's great news that China reacted the way they did, because it tells me this is for real. Like, they wouldn't have reacted that way if Bessent was just blah, blah, blahing. But they think this is real. And I like Bessent's approach here. We were talking in the first hour about this whole deal with Canada, and it's a big public fight. Bessent operates on this very kind of cold-blooded approach, right? Like, we are going to do this. You do not want to be on the wrong side of this deal. We will follow through. He is a speak softly and carry a big stick kind of guy with this. And I wonder if, because I was complaining yesterday about the timing of this, I kind of wonder if the timing of this is related mostly to the work they've had to do behind the scenes to be ready to make this effective. I don't think, if this is really the biggest financial stranglehold we've ever done since World War II, you can't do that in a second. And so I kind of wonder if they've been laying the groundwork for this, and that's why they're doing it now. And I agree with you, Kennedy. I think Iran will try to lash out somehow. But I actually think we're ready for that. And if they do that, we'll hit them back 5 times harder. So this is probably the most optimistic I felt about the track we're on since before we got into that memorandum of understanding. That's what I would say.
The U.S. blockade is triggering fuel shortages in Tehran. There are now long lines, people queuing up for gasoline, because as this strain on the Iranian economy grows because of our blockade. So turn their own people against them, which is something that the leadership very well knows could be the end of the regime.
I really like this opinion piece in the Post today. Richard Goldberg penned it, Operation Economic Outcast as a recipe for success against Iran. And the pivotal paragraph that I want to read to you. The United States can't force other countries to join a bombing run. It can't compel foreign navies to patrol the Persian Gulf, but it can change economic behavior through the threat and imposition of U.S. secondary sanctions on private banks, brokers and exchanges, airport authorities and aviation service providers, shippers and insurers, even state-owned enterprise and government instrumentalities. So I think that kind of sums up what everybody is saying here, even though you're not a huge fan of sanctions. This time it seems different, to Dagan's point that we haven't shut the oil flow down from Iran in many, many years. And so I think it's unprecedented. And I also agree with you, Brian, that it's the first time during this process. In the beginning, I was excited about it. I thought we could get somewhere. As soon as we started these conversations and the MOU and the whole let's make a deal and ceasefire, it went downhill for me personally in terms of how I was viewing it. And this is the next time since then that I've been optimistic that this could actually not only achieve our objectives, President Trump has made them clear, get rid of the nuclear weapon program, but also make sure that you get whatever they've got left in the country out of their hands. And he hasn't made this a priority, but I personally would like to see a regime change there that we are not involved in, where the people can't get gas and they can't get food, and they get so angry that, you know, they find shovels and sticks and whatever they have to take to the streets in such force that, you know, the soldiers who are religious fanatics will want to shoot them, but that at some point you can overpower them by being a bigger crowd.
It's not an accident that last week Bessent said we're creating the conditions for regime collapse. And yesterday he talked about that again. You don't do that off the cuff. I don't know what it means and I don't know if it's going to work, but clearly they're viewing this economic pressure as the thing where internal forces, not external forces, are the ones who bring the greatest pressure on this regime. And the regime, I think, is most afraid of that. They have always been very afraid of their own people turning on them, which is why they crack down so hard on them.
Well, the UAE's announcement last week that they're starting to sort of break financial ties with Iran, I think, as Scott Bessent said yesterday's, perhaps maybe not a coincidence. So maybe we'll get more of these to come. I will just say quickly, because I was spending a lot of time at home in California, and there are, as much as we've talked about inflation and prices at the pump that are higher, I live in a big community that grows pistachios. Iran's this huge pistachio exporter. So the pistachio business in California is booming because they can't get pistachios out of Iran. So there are some other, it's not a zero-sum game, that even though oil prices are high, there are other farming businesses like pistachios, for example, that actually have really benefited from this.
It takes more water to grow pistachios than it does to cool data centers.
Or are you talking about the almonds?
Serious?
Well, almonds too, but
Almonds
pistachios
too.
are
Also?
thirsty,
Yeah.
like a Kardashian.
But you know what? If we can crush Iran at its own export business, I'll do it any day.